The following content may cause discomfort to some individuals, therefore we recommend it not be viewed by anyone. We accept no responsibility for its interpretation or any actions taken as a result. Those who view it are responsible for their own actions.
As we had spoke right before, I would love to dive a little bit deeper on some of the concepts that you felt, because I was captivated by the information that I heard in the video that you have. And when I first started messaging on the platform that I actually had seen it on before going out and seeking you in another, actually, I don't actually know how I came across the where I actually started first like talking to you back and forth outside of the platform that I saw it on, but I was captivated instantly, and I then rewatched it in all of its short formats. And so if you want to, if there's something you would like to really dive deep on, that's what my goal is for today, because there was a lot that I just absolutely enjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, as I told you before, so that video was just something that I was holding in within myself, like some thoughts like that for like years and years, for many years, maybe around maybe 20 years, maybe something around that. Maybe more, I don't know. But it was something that I really haven't seen anywhere, something that is really simple that I think everybody knows within themselves, but I just didn't hear anybody talking about it. So I just took long 3 hours and just flow with it, and I really actually said everything that I wanted to say. And the only thing is that I mean, not everybody would have patience to go through it or look into it. But it doesn't matter really, because what matters is that I just released what I wanted to say, and here you go. I mean, now we're talking, we have this conversation, and you were the only person that actually reached out and understood what I was saying, and I feel you understand it completely based on your feedback. What you said, and that's how we started talking with each other, and then I discovered your content, and then I understood that a lot of things that you were talking about is exactly how I see them, which for me was interesting because I never planned to do much about with this. I just wanted to say, people have it, digest it, but I never felt that I would be talking with people who have like same or similar like me experience. So, yeah, do you want to say something about that, or?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, like, for me personally, I know that I found it to be, I guess, a little secluding. I guess, I don't know, because it's not seclusion, because I don't feel bad for it, but like, I feel like I've been in my own like group for a long time of just me, and it's very intriguing, and that was where I was really captivated, because it was like that someone actually thinks in this way naturally, like just naturally, this is the there is no like thinking about it. It's just flow, you know, like things are just, it's just there. And I find that it's something that like for the most part I felt very like all by myself in, because I don't find that I have that same, like it's hard to find, like I haven't, it's not like there's one in every three people that are like that kind of thing. And so like, is it something that you found like in your like real life, in your, you know, face-to-face life? Do you find that people are more like this, or do you feel like, have you found it hard to have that conversation, that group of like, I don't know how to explain it, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's the question. Yeah, I mean, I never felt anybody like that understands really these things on that level. I mean, I have usually like to individually be friends with people, and then I can go deeper into how they are about, what they're about, what I'm about. So that's what I like with people when I talk with people. But when it comes down to, I mean, nobody really understands these things in that way. But what I found that was interesting for me was that, I mean, I see these things always. I always seen that something is really fucked up about this world, you know, and I remember from what I heard from your podcast with Inspirado Projecto, was it? That he also said that there was like some darkness that you've been feeling, or like throughout your life, some kind of like something really like dark, some kind of like really like some kind of darkness. And I remember that I always felt that, you know, like, so it would be like when I was a little kid, I would drive in a car with my parents or something during the night, coming back home, and I felt that everywhere around there is some kind of like really fucked up energy with people. And I didn't really feel that energy is something that is really, it felt like an external thing, because it's an idea about it, it's a vibe about it, which means it forms a certain vibe to it, it forms certain how do you say, like a concept, certain form about it, how you feel it. That means like it can be messed out with some kind of an entity or some kind, you know. But it's actually just like a vibe, I think, that people produce by being really screwed up in this world. They brought up screwed up and so on. And what I would like to also say about these things, and I'm curious what you think about it, that there is something like when you see people searching for different things, like truth or whatever they call these things, it's when you want to find out something other than what's been presented to you, what is, you know, how do you go about it, you know? And I noticed that usually people do this and get curious into things because they want to escape from something that happened along the way to them, and they want to patchwork something that has been missing there, you know. So and I think that isn't really genuine, I would say, and it's not them to blame, of course. It's just what happens, but that's what it is, and I saw it because these people who do that, they usually never find the thing that they're searching for. They just get entertained by different people who are entertaining, and they just who are actually in the same way. Because for me, like, if you want to know about the core essence about things, it isn't really entertaining. There's nothing about entertaining, and it isn't funny, and it isn't. It's just what it is, which means it's a lot of pain and a lot of, you know, happiness as well, but a lot of like nothing. It's really, these things are just constructs attached to like, oh no, we should be happy, or I'm searching to find out about myself or something because I want to be happy, I want to be fulfilled, I want to be satisfied. But is it life about the satisfaction? Like, is it really? Or life is about living, and then living according to what, and so on. But what I noticed, if you ask people, what do they remember, their first memory in their life? Maybe we talked about this, I don't remember. But I know I wanted to bring this up because this is the basic, the core. This is the start, basically. The starting point is if you, in your life, you lived your life and something happened to you along the way, then from then on you start searching. If you, I don't know, have problems in socializing with people, or you have problems with woman, man, whatever you have there, and then you start searching because of these reasons, or somebody don't physically like you or something, or somebody bullied you or whatever it is. You just try to patch that thing. But when you remember, we ask people, and this is like good exercise what people can do also, ask, why do you have a need to know something more than what's being presented? What's the reason for it? So when did you start searching for it? What's the reason behind it? Usually that would reveal what it is about, what you're doing, what you're searching, and where you're going to be limited on in the search. What I remember, like for me and for similar people like me, what I noticed that when you ask somebody, okay, what do you remember? And then they usually remember the first ever memory would be like, oh, my grandpa is holding me like this, and some kind of sun, something, it's like warm and hugging me. It's like nice, they would have different versions of the similar experiences, which would not be like really bad experience in any kind of way. It would be something just like what I remembered. But what I remember from my life was that my first memory was actually a little bit like it's gonna sound a little bit screwed up, but I remember that two like faces, like one over here and the other over here, and they're like looking at you, and one is like man and one is female. And because you don't really see the shapes, you see that one has beard, and the other that doesn't have beard. And I remember the feeling they were like shaping me and moving me around, they were just like moving me around and doing what they want to do. And I remember, the only thing I remember is their faces and the blur of their faces and silhouettes of their faces, and the color. I remember like a brownish color around in the room, like a little bit yellowish kind of light. And I remember that I couldn't raise my hand at all, like a zero. Like I couldn't move my hand, and I couldn't move myself. And I felt like these people are doing whatever they want with me, And but then what actually happened later on in life, what I discovered was that I was sick, I was having fever like 42 or 41 Celsius. And so I was like in delirium, and I was sick, and I was actually 1 year old. I was really, really like almost like I was baby. But that memory stick up. And my mom told me about it because she started to explain me what happened, and then I was like, I recall that that's exactly what she's explaining what happened to me, which I remember that she was explaining. And I was like, wow, how old was I? I was 1 year old then. But after that, I have only memories later on in life of like 4 years old, 5 years old, so on forth. But this was one memory that I remember. And what they were actually doing, they were like moving me around. They were putting like some traditional alternative thing, like they're putting like, I don't know, like alcohol on you, which doesn't make really sense, to lower the fever or something. So, like they told them that should do that, and they didn't know actually what to do with me. And I remember then later on, I also connected that, to the world, what it is, it's like somebody want to shape you up, somebody want to and who is indoctrinating you first? Your parents are actually indoctrinating you. They are the ones who are actually, the first, the first, connection with the real world, basically. What should be a man, what should be a woman, what should be and so and then also it's like interesting that later on when you have like two people who are different, completely different from each other, they have different values, they have different perceptions of things, then you also become like a little bit polarized in that way instead of unified, versus when you have like they're far from being, let's say, a soulmate or something.
Yeah.
So they were very far from there. But yeah, what do you think about this? Do you understand what I mean?
I do, and I'm gonna admit to you that I'm one of those crazy people that like I listen to what you say, and I'm like to me, it sounds like you came in with an awareness. Like to me, it sounds like you came in with an awareness, and as if like almost like as if the system wasn't supposed to be that way, and that's where the fever came in. And then, like you said, after that, it's like where it goes. And so it's like, I'm just like, it makes perfect sense to me where like your perceptions and your thoughts and how you've known these things for so long in that aspect to me. And like, like, I find that sometimes things happen. Like, for example, you said you were having a fever and you were in a state of delirium at like 1 year old. Is that I always think that things um they're they're a part of like what is intended for whatever is coming through. Like there's everything kind of has a reason, if that makes sense. Whether it has no reason or it does, it has, I guess, both. It has no reason and it has a reason because I find them to be important. But what you said about like what your first like indoctrinating comes through is your parents, is I always like to refer to it like, at the eye doctor where you get your eyes checked and they have to click, click. Well, it's like your first prescription into your lens is now viewed through what your parents and those who are impacting you on the greatest basis in that younger age. And that first, like right out there it's almost like it sets your prescription. It's where I say that like people have different views of everything because by the time we're at the age we are right now, for example, every single thing that we have experienced has created our specific lens to how we see the world. And like, yeah, it makes sense that the very first set is to that. So if somebody doesn't like the color yellow, or like I was talking to my daughter yesterday about something and she's like, I don't like it. I'm like, why do you not like it? I didn't like cilantro because my mom didn't like cilantro. I'd never had cilantro, but I didn't like cilantro and I had an opinion on cilantro until I met my husband, and all of a sudden I'm like, I like guacamole. I like cilantro. I was like, how have I never, like, this is what cilantro tastes like? Dang, I've been missing it out this whole time. I've had this like serious bias against it. And it's been this, I'm like, what? And I even like, and it's funny because then I brought something over to my mom and my mom's like, well, does it have cilantro in it? And I was like, just try it. Well, does it have cilantro in it? And I was like, it's good, right? And she's like, oh, I didn't think cilantro could do, this isn't the type of cilantro. And I was like, I wonder why she didn't like it. Like, was it one bad experience? Or did somebody tell her that it wasn't good? Either way, like it's formed like over 20 years of my life with this. And it's silly that it's cilantro, but at the end of the day, it formed a portion of my life. Like whether I ate certain things, whether I had an opinion on something. And so it makes absolute sense to me that, yeah, it does it. Like it starts there. It's incredible though that you can remember like that being your first memory.
yeah. It's what do you say about exactly like it's something like cilantro or what like something obvious like that you can remember, but how many things we've been taught that who can remember those things, and then after like years and years you just figure out you're like a lot of people get replicas of their parents, like oh my god, I have this, I have that, and you can actually trace it back to to each of these things if you just are curious, but and you don't satisfy with one answer, but it's how do you say yeah, about the memory, it's I think it never meant to be, that memory in a sense. I mean, it's never meant to be what it is. It's always meant to be what it is. But what I mean is that people don't remember when they're 1 year old, and they usually don't remember because your brain develops later on. But I think only when you have like some kind of extreme shock that like almost paralyzed, because I ended up in the hospital and so on. So I think these kind of things get you more into imprint into yourself, like a dog running around barking on the car, and it just depends on how much the car hit the dog, or did it hit the dog, and then how much it will how they say, I don't even know how much it will be handicapped towards that. But there was another thing I wanted to tell you about connected to what you said. I forgot. But what is also interesting for me about the insight, I was always like, I had one thing that I was always doing. I walked around in town, whatever it is, and I would just I would just look at the window and see a pieces of inside of it, and also the whole thing, how it is, and then I would try to think about me living exactly there, and I could think about it actually, and of course that wouldn't be accurate for sure, but I could feel it, like I could actually feel it and get depressed about it. So these are some of the things that I was doing. So kind of like, I don't know if that is like kind of empathy or something, because like, I don't know, my family usually I mean the first family, I mean, which I'm born into, not my family that I have now, but they always think that I'm like cold person. I'm like kind of, my mom told me a few times like I'm kind of alien, like how I think about certain things, and of course I'm not alien, but even though a lot of people can identify, like, oh no, a lot of people who watch all this mumbo jumbo shit, they can identify like, oh no, you've been abducted and this is what happened to you. You just don't know because your brain was erased, and so far they can have a lot of exotic thoughts about this, but the thing is, like, I think words also fuck you up. It's enough only one word to really screw you up, and I think everybody can relate to that. And what you said, one thing that I now remember, yes, that you said certain things are meant to be in a certain way, and I believe that. I believe that things are as they happen, they're exactly like that, and that's exactly what should happen, because that happens and it has a reason which you don't necessarily need to see, because you are not the one creating the coincidences, the reasons. Something look coincidence to you, but it isn't. It's meant to be in a certain way. So these things are all perfectly how they are, where they're supposed to be, and they're just like seeing the perfection of it and following it, and with the gut feeling and so on, and just feeling for it. I remember you did one thing when you were talking. I remember like one of the talks. I don't know if it was a video or something, but like how you breathe in. That was kind of like how you kind of breathe in. So is that how does that feel inside of yourself. Like when you breathe in, does that has anything to do with how you feel inside of yourself? And does the breath affects you how you feel and how you flow, basically? Does it affect?
Absolutely. I would have to say that, like, for me, I'm someone who's like super hyper aware. And so I find that I can tell, like, my breathing is very much connected to my state of being. And I can feel if my chest is being fully expanded. And I'm aware of the expansion of both my ribs and the lung capacities within them. And I will be honest, I am like, the other day I was cranky. I was super cranky. And the thing that cured it was I took my sports bra off because it was compressing my ribs, and like it didn't compress like a normal person. But to me, the fact that I wasn't able to take a breath in the way that I feel my body should be able to fully expand and contract. Like, I find that if I'm anxious or something, I I'm quite like amazed at how I can hold my breath without even being aware that like it's a natural thing that I'm doing, because I'm also in a like sense of concentration, because, or like if I'm hyper fixed on something, I won't realize that I'm not breathing at that pace in the, like, it's not, I realize I'm doing it, but I'm not consciously doing it. But I know that the moment I want to change it is I, like, I can feel it and I can control that aspect. Just like if I want to go to sleep kind of thing, I just breathe out longer because I can feel my body's like doing its relaxation kind of thing. But it's one of those things that if I'm not breathing, like my breathing is connected to if I'm cranky, if I'm like happy, like relaxed, and my chest, like and my back, my ribs have to feel a certain way so that like I feel like I'm at whatever my body is meant to be at. Like, I really feel like things should just be natural. And I do recognize how it impacts that. And that, yeah, it's very attached to it. And I find that it's a controlling aspect. I think that's why a lot of people focus on that, like meditation and bringing your awareness into your breath. But I don't think it's like important to be focused on that part. Like, I think people lose the idea that it's only meant for that time, when actually, like, your breath, and like most often we don't take in the proper breath. And I think that has to do with how we're kept in kind of a heightened state. But I find that, like, being aware of like your breath at any time and seeing the connection to like, how you are at each state. I don't know if that, sorry.
That actually totally answers for me, because I knew that it was the case, because I noticed it, because I also do that as well, because that feeling is directly connected to the gut feeling. You feel that?
Yeah. Yep. I think that's that I'm aware. I think like most people are aware of their bodies. Like, I don't think people, I don't know, like I've always done this weird thing where I like to isolate a muscle and focus my attention into it and gain control over that muscle without having to, like, I know it sounds so weird, but like I like to, it's a game I've played since I was little, that I would try and take over like a certain portion of something that, or if like I wanted to get better at, like, you know, how some people can't raise their eyebrows or something, I would try and master the art of doing it on both sides. And I had to like, or like I wanted to be able to wiggle one ear. I know it sounds crazy, but it's that awareness though that our body has, and I find like it's similar, like it's no different to me than the being aware of my breath and taking control over that, and like taking over a system that like it's naturally happening at all times. Like, you know, it's the closest thing, like you can't just be like thinking about, you can't take over your blood system the same way as you can your breath system. But that oxygen, that breath, like it's like you wouldn't expect your car to like drive really well on half empty tires.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and what you said about the control, it's I would put it that it's more of a awareness than control, because the awareness of it would be that you are aware what's happening. You are aware how much is enough in the moment, like you feel it, and there's a difference in controlling it, like through meditation, through techniques. You're basically pushing the control into the uncontrollable natural state of the perfection of who you are, limited as is, but perfect in its limitation. I mean, what you say about the muscles, I can relate to that also. But can you do there's one thing I can do that I didn't met anybody who can do that, and it's if I'm unique for something, that's the only thing I'm unique for. I'm just kidding, of course, but if I'm unique on something, my uniqueness is in one thing I can do, and this is the thing I can do.
Can I do that?
No, I can't. I was like, no. The only thing
I never met anybody who can do that, but I guess that there are many people who can do that, but I haven't met them.
mine was
What's
always
that?
eye shake. I can shake my eyes back and forth, but they go super, super fast. Let's go.
Wow. Can I see that?
I don't know if I can do it over. I don't know if it will show up on the camera. Did you see it? I don't know if you can see it in there. They go super fast, like super fast. And when I was a kid, actually, I used to do unconsciously. Well, I'd be reading, but my daughter, she's always like, but it's the one thing that throughout my whole life, I've never met anyone. I know that people can do it, but I've never met anyone who could ever shake their eyes on command. And that.
Yeah.
Funny.
There was, yeah.
There was a little distraction, but yeah, little fun thing. But if it is fun for anybody to see that, but yeah, that relates to what you said, and so the overall where we started the conversation with was about this feeling being, this sun darkness and behind the darkness, and also like alternative things about what is real, what's not real. So we said we're gonna talk about that in a way that I'm curious about this. What do you think about? Because today you have like the well-known indoctrinated ways of living, ways of understanding, ways of being, if that can be called being, but and you have like alternative ways towards that, against that, basically in the internet everywhere around, and then these are acting like two kind of opposing forces with each other. Majority on the on one side, on the other side, but still it doesn't matter the number. I feel there is like a lot of in the end they're exactly doing the same thing, and exactly having the same value system, basically. It's just the method to arrive at it is going to be different, but there are, so what I'm referring to is like these relative realities, that the reality is relative, and that people are actually gods controlling their experience. being so for example, like I'm seeing you now and we're having this conversation, but it's actually my reality. It's not like in your reality, maybe it's in reality something else. so this thing is very becoming very I wouldn't say like popular, but still you can feel a lot of that happening in today other level of this narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel that's like really appealing to a lot of people because it kind of gives them this freedom, because they feel like they're indoctrinated, like, you know, they don't matter shit, like the whole life, and you know, like you don't matter anything, and you can be manipulated, controlled, you're just a number, you're just a piece of crap, doesn't matter. But then when you find out something that is, oh, but there's like realities, and you can have your reality, I can have my reality. Basically, like you can have your truth, I have my truth, and it's like my truth is not the same as your truth. No, it's like the truth is one, the reality is one, and the ways how you can see reality and the ways what you can perceive of things that are true or not, it's individual. I mean, it's based on your angle from which you're looking at. But reality is what it is, and it wouldn't change for anybody, and it is fixed, and it's affecting. So the only thing is changed is your perception of it, but that doesn't change the reality. That changes how you act on it. What's real?
Can you relate to that? To be honest,
Yeah. Honestly, like it's. I would agree, because to me it's a lot like a video game where everybody in the world can buy the same copy. So it all has the base system. So it doesn't change the fact that like that map is not changing no matter what. Everybody who buys that game is going to have the exact same map and layout. That tree is going to be there. That NPC is going to be there. How it's played is up to the player, you know, how they choose to experience it. But nonetheless, there is one base. And like you said, it's how you act upon it. And just like how you can see things level up in games and things like that, and how their character is created into a certain space, it's by the choices they make, where they go, what they do, and who they interact with. And it can impact everything all the way through. But the same thing still remains, is that the base of the game it's one reality. It's just the perception and how you choose to play it that creates your own individual experience.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot, being confused with your individual experience with what reality actually is, which I think is kind of like, I don't know if that's the most dangerous thing ever taught to people, I think, because if you create your own reality, so what is underneath all that? If you just look into it a little bit, you see underneath there's no empathy for another human being. There are not things as they are. Things cannot be known. They just appear how you think about it. So basically, in control, you're basically taking away of the control of the ownership, and you think you're actually taking the ownership. You're actually giving it away, but you think you're actually taking the ownership in creating your reality, because you're the creator. But still, I mean, you're abandoning what actually is real, and you're just playing mind games with yourself.
Yeah.
So sad.
Part of that is like, it's funny. I remember like this concept that thinking is like a very taxing thing. And that's why people have been known to have like their closets filled with the exact same outfit, so that they could dedicate more of their thinking to. And it's like, it's funny that people will take in this message but not realize that that's what systems have evolved to do. They are the closet with everything in it. So it's just not even thought about. It's just registered. And like, I find that there's a lot of falsity in a lot of presentations are like, this is why you feel, you know,
Yeah.
but you are this. And it's like, yeah, no, like it's so, but people do, they think that they are in control, but in fact, they have just filled the closet with whatever is going to be generated in there for it. That's where like that you think you're in control by liking something or disliking something, whether it be physical in the online experience or whatever, is that it's still been catered way, and it it's affecting that perception, and it's dangerous, especially more so the fact that there's so much that people really want to feel. They think they want to feel in control and to gain whatever it is that they want through it, freedom, truth, healing, whatever it might be, that can be sold in the latest trend, because certain things are as trendy as, the next food or the next, like, you know, it's just something that's trending, but it's banked on, and it's another still not us controlling that way.
Yeah, they want to have it if they can get it immediately with no effort at all. So if you think about the automation and the whole thing is like, oh, but we want it simplified like this, or we want it like that, or we want it like that, or we want it, okay, but then oh, but the people like that, hey, that people actually want to just don't go there and do this and that. They just wanted to I don't know, eat the thing or whatever, they want to do this, they want to do that. But it's like, okay, but why don't we then skip the whole thing and have the feeling of already filled all these experiences, filled all these needs. These all needs have been already met, so you can die immediately. So you can skip even that, so you can just die, because maybe that's what it is all about.
Well, and like that's you essentially just summed up like the VR experience for people, is that people are seeking experiences through an alternate means other than actually experiencing it. But it's funny because you wouldn't try to grow a plant. Like, what a plant needs in order to thrive. You know how to tell by looking at it if it needs something, whether it be it needs taking care of because all of a sudden it has spots. There's obviously something out of balance. Like, how to provide for a plant and to be, I guess, very to believe yourself that much higher than everything else, to think that you can't do, like, that you can do alternative method to yourself is just absurd. Like, you wouldn't try to put soda on a plant and shove it in a basement in the middle of like a danky part and hope that it turns into this like beautiful flower. Just like, no, like you want. And so like it's no different with us. It's like we are feeling what is relating to whatever it is, and why ever we are feeling the way we are is a response as to what we are doing. Like the other day I was doing a bunch and I was like, you know what? My back is not feeling great. That means that like it's telling me it is time to stop doing this and take some time to pay attention to this, to just go and sit down and do something else that you can do, like being aware. Because again, you would look at a plant, and if I saw that it was leaning, I would try to help brace it, cut off whatever's heavy. You wouldn't try to get things to be a certain way without trying to actually fix the root. Like you don't color the top of a white rose by pouring stuff on the top of it. You pour it in the bottom in the water so that it can come up and to bloom in those beautiful colors. And like, I think it's insane that we as humans believe that we are so much more different, but we are the products of what, and to try and skip past things, it's like you can't have the end result without actually having whatever it is that changes your skin, changes your blood, your hormone levels. It changes your, like, it's not just an experience that can be projected into the brain. And it's like we're trying to wear out these like experience boxes without actually having the body go through them. And it's always something that's really driven me insane, this like instant, like I want to lose 15 pounds. How can I lose 15 pounds in 5 days? It's like, what?
Yeah.
How? Like,
Yeah, the whole thing is
Is isolated. So everything is isolated from everything else. But actually it's the other way around. Everything is connected to everything else forever, always. And if you see the connection, you would just understand that that's existing at the same time as something else existing. And it indicates in the condition what it is about, how it is, where it is. And as we mentioned, as you said, based on what I told you about my memory, you said that I was aware of the things. Yes, I was aware of a lot of things, but the core things. But there are a lot of things that I, on the way of the things how they are, I got lost the track as well. And then I need to like resense myself later on. So all these things are kind of like, they're kind of we're getting away from what you said, like you want the end result. You're getting away from understanding the totality of what's been present and what actually is the root of all things, which is like, as you said, like the same example is with the plant. You said the same example is you go to the doctor and say like, oh, I have this and that, and you have a doctor for lungs, you have a doctor for ear, you have a doctor for this, that, the other thing, and so basically they're looking at these things from like, oh, this is an ear, like, this is a head, like, like this is, they're not seeing it in a relationship with each other, which means that they cannot really see what is actually happening. So then they say, okay, mask the thing that you're having. So don't investigate. So just like put like, so the boat is rotten and you just like put layers of paint on over it and the worms are eating it up, there's holes and shit, and you're just like painting it over because it's easy. When I hear that, like, it's easy. What is easy? Is it easy to follow somebody else instead of living your life how you understand it? Because who is going to be in your body driving 24/7? Who is going to be that person? Who really knows? And what is easy? Oh, but it's easy for me not to think about it. Yeah, like there are a lot of things like you need to investigate in a lot of things and having the willingness. I think the willingness is in order for you to own your life, basically. And that's not only pleasure comes from that. It's and realization. It comes from that, like you actually living life. So otherwise, that's why you're bought, because you're not living your life. That's why you're bought into zillion of idiotic realities of whoever is next in line to pump it with the shit. And then therefore you have like, oh, this is civilization there, and that civilization, yeah, this is exactly now it comes naturally about these civilizations, because we mentioned this before. So yeah, it's good segue. It's like, oh, who knows what they had, so sophisticated this and that, and then these ones on the other side, they were no, but these are actually the first ones, and the other ones, and it's like all those guys, like who is first, who is there, and but they're so specific that they invented this and blah, blah, blah. Who knows how they build this thing? Is like, who knows, because you're receiving it from your own brain, how it is now, so you cannot believe that that 1,000 idiots would work on a one idiot over there and move the shit from one part of the town to the other. They could have known better because you know better now. So therefore, you should know better. They should know better. Of course, they did. And how magnificent all these civilizations were, and all of a sudden they disappeared. What a mystery! You know, what a mystery. They disappeared. Isn't that they disappeared all for the same reason? And the same reason is that when you live in against natural force, and when you want to dominate over natural force, is it then that that the nature takes its course and just shows you after a while you can ride on a certain thing, and after a while you're just like, what the fuck? You know, like, I've been living life. This is not real. You know, what you guys are doing, like, what the fuck is, you know? So basically reality actually shakes you up. Therefore, not one story can, how much sophisticated it is, not one story always holds for every generation. Therefore, yeah, every generation needs to be indoctrinated to that segment and to live in that way, and then the next generation. But then now this generation get indoctrinated into it, but the system changed along the way that this generation actually now is a burden to the change, and so on and so forth. So things are so simple and shamefully like stupid and simple at the same time. And yeah,
Absolutely. And I agree, because it's like, by forcing the will onto the world, it's taking a teeter-totter and hoping that, like, it will just, you know, it's like having someone poking you until finally it's like, okay, it was fine when it was like whatever, you know, the first few times, but after a while you turn around and you like, the balance isn't there anymore, you know, like, and the more that we try to, it's no, I guess it's like how, sorry, when we get sick, for example, our bodies try to correct itself. It's what it does, right? Like that's like, it makes its own little spider webs, aka the scab. That's its a way to make new skin. Like, you know, our immune system, it goes in there and it starts to attack things as it's meant to, right? And it's kind of like with the earth and the world, is the more that we think we are over and above it and try to make it and bend it to our will, like sooner or later the immune system kicks in. You know, and yeah, it's the perception throughout time, and it's evolved. But yeah, I'm fully in agreement with that, and it's not really a mystery, like, although everything wants it to be a crazy mystery, and because this just showed up, they found this, or we just discovered this, and that might be that led to this, and it's like, well, yeah, things move, things happen, like, you know, it's no different than our body. Like, it moves, it changes, it heals, and it repairs and gets rid of things.
yeah. I mean, it's the only mystery, maybe. It is how people don't get like simplicity of life. That's for me like the most mystery. I'll never figure that out. It's like how life is simple, and how everything is enough. Like you said, we were talking about the air before, the breath. So it's how little is actually enough for you to breathe through. You know, like how much air you need. You said you stop breathing for certain periods. You're doing something, you notice you stop breathing, for example. Like these little things are, and what you said, the body corrects itself. The body always corrects itself. Even when you cooked up some potion, give some pill, whatever it is you have there in the arsenal of goodness, the body needs to react on it in order to work its way. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So the body is acting on it. So you're giving it to the body because the body acts on it. It's not like the thing acts on it on its own. The thing on its own is shit. It's nothing. Not even shit. Shit was something before, and then it has a process. This was nothing. You know, it's just constructs, human ideas, from which we kind of. What is funny when I usually talk with people before, I avoid talking much, you know, about these things because not many people understand it directly. Like some people you can do it, and you see. Maybe sometimes it resonates later on in life. You never know. It's useful sometimes, but but you never know what I wanted to say, that you never know what like you say certain things and people are like, oh, you're saying shit about this, shit about it. Everything is shit to you. But no, everything what you think is everything to me is nothing, because what you say everything is actually what we created in this world, things we are playing with around. But these are things that we created, and the world isn't, and the reality isn't constructed of things we create. Those are just like so tiny. If you are in numbers or shit, it would be a number that you would not even exist. How miniature that would be in the reality that everything else is. So meaning what you created as everything. When you say everything, that means to me that's nothing. But what is nothing for you is everything to me. Meaning that things you ignored completely of natural force and natural things, like you have the body of certain kind and so on. So I feel like now we're talking, you know what I'm talking about. But people who don't have a context to what I'm talking about, and me repeating myself, that seems to me, but I would say for the first time, but it would seem that I'm repeating myself to myself. That actually is like we are just like a perfectly created, made, and questions around that are absurd. Who created this? Who created that? It's absurd because the perfection is already present. If you don't see the perfection, you don't see your limitation, you don't see the beauty of who you are, you don't see where you're supposed to be, you don't see your altar, which is your body, is your altar, and the nature and the whole thing act within it. You're not God. You're a representation of a God in a little piece somewhere over there, but you're still so this is like, you can, I mean, if you ever been aware of certain things, you're aware that when you go to the forest, you can see that around you it's a lot of things there. It's like universe there. So depends on what kind of state of consciousness you are, but at certain times you can get in certain kinds of consciousness that for whatever reason you can start being aware that there is nowhere to go, nothing to do, nobody else to ask anything. You have all the answers, and you just need to stop playing victim, that you don't know about it, and that somebody else needs to tell you about it. And because you perfectly know when you stop escaping from yourself, then you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe there is a quote also there from one guy. I don't know, maybe somebody can research this. But when you know, there's a quote. It says, "When you know, you know, you know."
It's true. It's true though.
But I interrupted you. What did you want to say?
Oh, no, I was thinking about the fact that it's very true that when you take the time to accept responsibility for all aspects of you, in the sense of that, if you don't like the way something is going and things like that in your life, expecting to find answers outside of yourself, like it's not going to be found, and blaming outside of yourself. It's not to say like, oh, everything's your fault, but rather more so that you, like, I always look at it almost like a two-way bar graph. And so you have a line that, like, it has to maintain balance no matter where it is. And it's like we adjust the bars so that we never actually go out of balance, as in what that range can be, but how those bars now look may not be what is actually suitable for what we think we want. But it's exactly a mirror of whatever we have set for the system. And I find that when we don't take that acknowledgement that we are the one with the choice about how we look, like just understanding that everything that is right now is the buildup of everything that was. Because like I said, like the blue hitting the edge of the rose is that like only we have that control. Only all of it is like we can't be sad, we can't be happy because of somebody else. That is all through our perception of how it is to us. But somehow there's this concept of seeking outside, which it's not outside of you, it's within you. I really liked that aspect actually of your video. It really hit home for me, and so it's nice that I get to hear it at a more in-depth here. But I have to agree, it is what you are. And the victimization today, that people all want to play a victim to their own self, I think it's just more part of a narrative that keeps us at a robotic state that needs to be, again, alone but dependent.
Yeah, definitely. It is something that it doesn't come naturally to you. So what is kind of funny is that we say humans are intelligent, and at the same time, we see humans as shit. You know, it's like, how can that then be? And humans like, oh no, but they like it that way. But then they're stupid. You know, but no, they're intelligent. Okay, but they cannot be stupid and intelligent at the same time. Or maybe they can, but not in that way. Maybe we are all both things at the same time, and sometimes we're gonna do something stupid, sometimes we're gonna do something smart, but at the same time it is, you've been born into already predefined cage. The same like with the animal. You can see the difference if you ever observe dogs. you can see that there is a dog which is having like living in an apartment, and there is another dog who is living outside on the street, stray dog. There is a difference in that face. I can tell as a human being, you know, there is a difference in that face. And no wonder why the dog is in the apartment is sad. Because they determine when he's gonna take shit, when he's gonna take and he will be extremely happy with that at the same time. But so people got indoctrinated into something, and that is preventing them actually to understand who they are. And I heard one thing that I saw some stupid movie, and there was one quote. It was super toxic movie, and one woman, she was kind of like dominating thing there, and it was like, no, I mean, we're not going to go into all the narratives about what's been pushed and why on the gender level. I mean, on the like who should have which role and how should that be represented. But she had one statement there, and it was like, she was like tricking people. She was doing like all this kind of like manipulations and things, and kind of like snake types, you know, like those kind of symbols and so on. So it was like, you need to know yourself. You need to know yourself in order to use yourself to the best of your ability. And I was like, you need to know yourself to use it for your own advantage. Something like that. But at the same time, it's like, knowing yourself is like, what are you knowing? Because when you know yourself, it's like, are you knowing really yourself? Because when you know yourself, you know that I'm the same as you are. And you're the same as whoever it is. You're the same. That's who you actually are. When all the stories stop, when all the constructs stop, when all these podcasts stop, when all these computers and shit stop, when all this stop, when my stupid voice stop, you know, all this, then you came to something that is, even if you glimpse it for a few seconds, it's enough. Because there you see that there is some kind of awareness that is just awareness. And it is just present. And it isn't God. It's just what it is. It's just there in you, in the body. It is there. That's actually who you are, who everybody is. And everything else that comes upon it, what you survived, what you what you get exposed to, and so on and so forth, things that you mentioned as well. So basically all that creates how you are shaped, basically, how you are interacting with this, who you are, like this body, like, oh, this is me, kind of. But it's not you. It's really like it's like one thing that need to really, one illusion that need to be really addressed is that that's who you are. And that's life. It's not who you are. And you can know yourself, but it's not like you can use this to profit out of something. It's like you can, the best thing you can profit out is knowing so basically you have like who you are, and on the top of that is layer that has been created of, oh, I survived this. This is when I was a little kid, this happened to me, and this happened to me later, and da. And this is who I am. No, you are this underneath. So you're this. This is who you are. And this is just a mask attached to it. And it's like, and what they're saying is like, oh, you're just this. And underneath is the stupid shell, emptiness within. There's like nothing there. You just, we're all shit, we're all piece of crap. And use this on your advantage, appear to another this in a certain way in which you're nothing, you're just like shell. So that's what's been, if only that is cleared up.
Yeah.
Everything else flows naturally, self-explains itself.
Yeah, I guess like that's probably one of the things that I find overwhelmingly present is the argument on like the ego and how that ties into the human and the soul and the mind. And everybody has their own personal opinion, but everybody, oh my gosh, it's
extremely confused.
And it's just so much that I find it overwhelmingly just much. You know, it's too much what people are so concentrated, but it's true. Like you can see all these questions and videos and comments of things like that. How do I do this? We're you know, I experienced ego death. I did, and I'm like,
yeah.
you know, like there's, and that's that shell and this aspect, and yeah.
Yes. Perfectly said. Beautifully said. Yes, because yeah, with all this like, oh, the non-duality, there's like, oh, you're not separate. You cannot say like you see a plant because that's separate now from you. You're like, you cannot say in the end of that you're God, always creating realities. But it's like, I mean, the ego is there we need to get rid of the ego. Somebody said, if you try to get rid of your ego with your ego, it will take you to the end of time. One smart person said that. So you cannot, and that's what they've been doing. And that's because the ego is there for a reason. And the reason isn't to be confused about it. The ego is there just because it's like you have the whole construct, and the construct becomes a story and a million stories upon it. And like, okay, if I'm a certain person, however I'm called, and you say like you and 10 people say like, oh, he's in this way, and then you say it loud, and you would all agree. Let's say you similar thing, like you all agree. But what actually would happen in your head is you would perceive it even though you said those words, you would still perceive it from your own angle. And each of the person will perceive it from your own angle, from all the baggages that you have and so on forth. And so basically, and I also will perceive myself in a certain way in that sense, if I think in my way about myself in that terms. But then actually, all of this is fake. None of them is true.
Yeah.
It means that
it isn't true. But what it is true with this ego thing is that the ego is there for a certain reason, and animals have ego as well, and they are the best reference for reality and for real life.
Yeah.
Because they have, why do they have ego? Because they see themselves outside of themselves in a certain moment. Because if you have a cliff down there, you need to relate your body versus the cliff in order for you, oh, okay, me going there, I'm gonna die. Me doing this is gonna happen that. Okay, now I figured it out. That's why the dog barks on the car when it hits it or whatever happened there. So the ego exists. So when you push it too much and make out of it, like, like who has better story, then you're missing, not the point, you're missing life completely.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know. I've had my own, I don't know if I call it the ego as what anybody and everybody on their own search finds and feels for themselves. But I've said it many times, is like in many different places, is my belief of the Earth-generated operating system. It's flawlessly designed to keep us alive. And whether, like, it's no different than when you see a plant trying to grow towards water, and we do things like my concept of this, of the Earth-generated operating system, is like, it is designed flawlessly to keep me alive. And how I impact that of my conscious ways is that it's me trying to, like, that's where that ego is it's a necessity, because at the end of the day, you can claim to kill it off or do whatever you want to it, but I don't see you taking over, like, pushing your own bloodstream, and taking over, making sure the hormones are released at the same time and everything. Like, there is a whole encompassed system there for it to be functioning order, and it's our survival, it's our everything, and it's why we get that fight or flight situation. It's why we don't just walk off. It's why we see these things. It's why we feel these things. It's like, like that feeling, that darkness. I don't want to do it. Like, when I was little, I would, and I mean, I worked really hard to get up to this, but I hated looking out windows at night. There was something about it that just, I was always expecting someone to be standing there on the other side. There was this deep, dark feeling, but that is my system telling me that I obviously am perceiving something that's not of good nature for me. And that is whether there's the impact of what my brain has, and that's where we impact it with our brain. And we perceive, so if we have these fears of going to do something, we have these fears of this, even nervousness about, like happy moments, like nothing is more intense than when you're like a day or two before you're about to give birth and you are terrified because you are committing now to being this, there is no returning. But yet you are also excited and you are happy and you are like so ready for this. But at the same time, you're you're so happy and yet terrified at the same time. And yet you feel these things, and it's because like our impact, it's, whereas like we see like nature at its finest, that you can see a dog when it's given birth, and if they're showing signs that the baby's not responding, they will do everything to try. They'll keep looking at, and they'll keep trying to help it as best as it knows how. But there's not like the conscious mind of, oh my God, what did I do? Was it because I did this? Was it because I should have done this? I knew I should have sat on the ball. I knew I should. No, there's none of that, And And that's where, like, for me, the ego's idea is very much that earth-generated operating system, that everything and anything that, like, lives and breathes, and, like, just however you want it, an organism that grows in the system of the earth functions by some sort of earth-generated operating system that bases it on its potential to survive, whether it be collectively, like bees, or whether it be individually, more as like how we have dogs, we have lions, us, whatever, is that there is this earth-generated operating system that is made for survival and for the greatest potential of such, and it's designed flawlessly. But it's that ego aspect that when people say they want to kill it, I'm like, I just don't see how.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yes, exactly. And they got into million illusions, unfortunately, with this thing, because yes, you can survive, you can feel this ego that, and it will be just what I previously said here. If just a few seconds, you just forget about yourself. Okay, don't force yourself to be present and listen to me now, and you will find that spot. And one time I was like in a bar with some from work, and I just went there and talked, and I thought to myself, this person wouldn't even get it. Well, what do I know, you know? So I said it anyway. After like a few beers, you know, I just said it, and the thing was just like, oh, you know what you said now? Yeah, that thing you said, I felt it once, and I always wanted to get there and go there. You know, like to be, just feel yourself, to be in awareness of just without directions, but you're still there. You're still present. You're still in your body. You're still here. So the thing is, we do survive. We do this experience. We do experience ego death. Some of us on more consciously than others. When the consciousness like melts completely, and you know you feel what is happening. But I would say also, like those who don't know what you're talking about, I have another one that is also easy to relate to. Like if you ever had sex, you know, and you come, in the moment when you come, what happens in that few seconds there?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where like the euphoric, like not even, there's no thought, there's no nothing, it's just there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there is still presence. You know, there is still.
Hello?
Oh yeah, it blocked. But the euphoric moment, but it's still you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It just.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're okay now.
It gets.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, the technology is coming as well. But that moment euphoric, what you said exactly, it is the moment in which there is nothing. The only thing that is there, it's not nothing. It's just you being there, witnessing the perfection of non-direction and release. Basically, you're like, as if life is between the breathe in and breathe out, and the life is basically, I mentioned this before to you, as if the life is between the inhale and exhale, basically. It's not like one or the other. It's like they say like those yin yang, or like good and bad, but it's like, it's not even that thing when you see that circle with a whatever black and white thing, it's like not that, it's like in the middle of it. That's like life. That's what whatever everything is. That's the core. That can you live within that? You're not designed to live like that. You're just a human being. People just don't accept their limitation and their limitation and the beauty of that. And that if they just do that, they would see that, because it's really painful what you said, reading these things online. But people, how do I do this? And then, how do I do that? Oh, I think I got the ego that, and I'm thinking like, how do, you know, and they really get confused about it, and the realities and the aliens and all these things. And they're actually alien themselves, alienated from everything. And they're just cage animal figuring out why the bird is, you know, like on the tree doing the nest, and the bird is born in a cage. what the bird knows. What there was also one quote there, like the birds born in a cage, they think that flying is a sickness. So it's pretty much where we're at, in this world. I would say.
Absolutely. That's a good way to put it, though. It's true. Is whatever you have as represented as your norm is going to feel weird in any other sense.
Yeah, but there are certain things. When because now like this touch a lot of so you feel the conversation, how it evolves. It touch a lot of these things within the people, and especially the sensitive things, the like really sensitive things, and it consumes. It feels like it, like especially the coming and the sexual aspect of it, and that's also another indication. Why is that the case? Because today we don't know to eat, we don't know to have sex normal, we don't know to relate to each other, to communicate with each other, we don't know to sleep, we don't know to take a shit, we don't know to piss, we don't know shit, nothing. We don't know anything really, and so that's kind of interesting, and then when you see these glimpses of reality, and when you can experience them and live through them, you like, wow, like wow, so beautiful, like thank you, it's like wow, like, I'm so grateful, but this should be a normal thing. It's nothing that is nothing unique about it, really. The uniqueness is only in the lack of it, and by nature you wouldn't be like, you wouldn't have like all this individualism and like my story to your story, all those things from before we mentioned. It would just be, people would relate more to each other, and they would, there would be less barriers that they constructed. And it's really, really shameful for all these things that I mentioned, these basic human needs. They're all so simple, and so it's not like rocket science.
Absolutely.
It's just like you feel through it, and you don't, if you need to get sophisticated about it, then and I listened to the other day some podcasts, and they were talking about these realities and so on, and these people, I mean, I thought to myself, like, I think they have the best intention in mind, because they said certain things that are correct, and they did fight for certain things that are also correct and good, good create like a natural connection, but at the same time they kind of they stated, it was funny, it was like, yeah, because this is reality, that's reality, and and it was like, okay, but I know it's a little bit hard for people to understand this, like that you are now in one reality and this is the other reality, and your reality is like things, war is happening in the Middle East or whatever, and this is happening here, and I shouldn't be attached to that. And if the cop asks me to pay the ticket, that's just in my reality, so I can freely not pay the ticket. Like they went to these extents, and I'm like, wow. And it's like, oh, we know, I understand it's a little bit difficult to understand this. No, the thing is, it's not like it's a bit difficult. If it's difficult to understand, then you don't get shit. You don't understand, really, what you're talking about, because the reality is really shamefully simple. And it isn't sophisticated at all. It only gets sophisticated when you try to do something that it isn't the way it is. That gets sophisticated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes back to like my statement about the plants, though, is like when we try and take it out of nature and we want to put in all these high-tech lights, and we want to put it, oh, I heard it grows better if it has this frequency of sound, and this miracle grow, and this, and it's like, my raspberry bush outside, it does what it's supposed to every year. And I get delicious, amazing, beautiful raspberries. I didn't do nothing to it. Sure. I'm the one putting it into the effort for like, I'm giving it water because I don't want it. That's my selfishness. But I'm not about to bring it into this technological like sequence of if I make everything more complicated when in fact those raspberries were growing without my help. Same with like my rhubarb. They've even been gotten rid of and they came back. You can't perfect something that does if something thrives on its own, it's perfectly there. And like, why we have to try and make it harder, why we have to make it more complicated, I don't know. But it's this misconception that we can all play God.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Everything boils down to that. When you don't accept your position, then you find excuses for you being in your position. Not wanting to be in your position, and everything starts there. So therefore, if there is something that people can just drawn out of this conversation, would be that basically, like, whatever you're doing is like, what are you, like, why are you doing that? What's the meaning of what you're doing? It's like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose behind me telling you that all the realities are different and everything it has, why would I tell you this? And why would you like to hear that? So what's happening around you that you would like to hear this? And why would you like this to be true? Or why do you see this true? Let's say you don't like it. You just like, why would that be true to you? Like, why would that be true versus something else? And what is that something else then? And what is also not being said?
Yeah.
So if they just investigate a little bit there, they will find a lot of jewels sitting over there, waiting for them to just shine on them, a little bit.
Absolutely. I don't think enough people are willing to listen to within, but I think it's because there's that ownership that takes place with it, that people are terrified of being in ownership of their circumstances, of their everything. And that, it's funny. It's like I said that people are more afraid of success than they are of failure, because everybody's like, oh, you're afraid. People are afraid of failure. And I'm like, no, people are afraid of success, because success comes with having to make decisions and being accountable. Fear of failure, that means you can like put it in and yeah, maybe you didn't want it. But no, when you face success, you're faced with decisions. Up until that point, you get to play like everything else is not with it. Like, you don't have to be accountable to the decisions you make, and that's the biggest thing is like people don't want that accountability. It's like somebody who wins the lottery, for example. Well, now they have to make the decision on, okay, do they want to move? Do they want to buy a house? Do they want to do these things? Yes, it seems like, oh yeah, we can go on vacation. And it's like, but now you have to, like, whereas you obviously kept yourself from these certain aspects, because success would lead to you having to face the fact that you don't actually want this. You actually do want this. And outside of that, you don't have to be accountable. You don't have to take responsibility. And it doesn't change. That's where, like, I honestly believe most people are afraid of success, not failure.
Yeah. I think that's something you reminded me that you talked about this, and I think this is really great insight that I didn't hear from anybody else so far, in a deeper context, so I really like what you said, because that's exactly what it is, because what success brings is unknown. because you're thinking about the success, but you're actually not getting for it because you don't want to have it. Because when you have it, you're gonna do something because you don't know where you're gonna be when that happens. So, and that will be unknown. So yes, and I think this is perfect
closure on this conversation, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we should stop it to this and just stop.
Yeah, for sure.